很难得的，以色列道歉了。看披露的图片和视频。9月29日，白宫椭圆形办公室，川普和以色列总理内塔尼亚胡各自落座，川普一只手还拿着电话，显然这是在跟卡塔尔首相穆罕默德通电话。内塔尼亚胡的表情有些怪异。按照白宫披露的信息，当着川普的面，内塔尼亚胡向卡塔尔道歉了。第一个道歉是道歉以色列导弹袭击卡塔尔，导致1名卡塔尔官员身亡。第二个道歉是道歉在谈判期间，以色列袭击哈马斯官员，侵犯了卡塔尔主权。内塔尼亚胡，并且保证以色列不会再发动类似袭击。撮合这次电话的川普也表态，对两位领导人的积极态度予以肯定，希望在多年相互怨恨和沟通不畅之后，将以色列卡塔尔关系置于积极轨道。一场对卡塔尔首都前所未有的空袭，就此算翻开新的一页。
I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen, wasn't our target.
从某种程度说，这当然是好事，冤家宜解不宜结，尤其在虎狼中东。但从另一个角度看，我不得不说，这揭示了一个非常残酷的真相。别忘了，在卡塔尔首都多哈，美国有中东规模最大的乌代德空军基地，以色列长途奔袭卡塔尔，对多哈办公楼发动攻击，美国怎么可能不知道？毫无疑问的一点，美国事先肯定知道以色列会攻击，美国肯定也对攻击开了绿灯，否则炮弹是不长眼的。美国如果不知道是以色列战机，不排除真会对以色列战机发动攻击，但美国肯定知道，所以美军根本不作为，特不靠谱，事后在装糊涂，卡塔尔也在装糊涂。国际政治中有些沉默比炮火更震耳欲聋，有些默许是写在空白纸上的条约。现在在川普压力下，内塔尼亚胡道歉了，并保证下不为例，这还是很罕见。毕竟之前以色列袭击过也门，袭击过黎巴嫩，袭击过叙利亚，袭击过伊朗，以色列道歉过吗？门都没有。但向卡塔尔道歉，这更说明美国对以色列还是有影响力的。只要美国真想做，真对以色列施加足够的压力，小以也不敢忤逆。当然，小以之所以道歉，还因为对美国有更多所求。权力天平上的每一次低头，背后都标好了看不见的价码。从川普角度看，他在下一盘更大的棋。在和内塔尼亚胡的联合记者会上，特不靠谱吹嘘说，现在是文明有史以来最伟大的日子之一。为什么？因为川普当天还提出了新的加沙和平计划，没有卡塔尔等阿拉伯国家的支持，这个计划根本不可能实现。这个计划分为20点，后面还附有一张加沙态势图。我看了一下，20点拉拉杂杂，但最关键的实际也就5点。1. 以色列接受协议72小时内哈马斯释放所有人质，然后小以释放250名终生监禁的巴勒斯坦囚犯和10月7日后被小以关押的1700名巴勒斯坦人。2. 哈马斯完全解除武装，承诺和平共并放下武器的哈马斯成员被赦免，希望离开加沙的哈马斯成员获准离开。3. 加沙将由一个和平委员会管理，川普担任主席，管理层还包括英国前首相布莱尔。4. 加沙彻底非军事化，哈马斯被完全排除在外，国际社会将帮助加沙重建，加沙人也不会被强迫离开。5. 美国、约旦、埃及等国将组建一支临时国际稳定部队，以军将分阶段撤离加沙。很戏剧性的一个细节，川普吐槽他太忙了，根本没精力当这个和平委员会的主席，但其他人敦促他这样做，阿拉伯世界的领导人以色列和所有相关人员都要求我这样做，所以他也就勉为其难了。看披露出来的图片，以色列和内塔尼亚胡在交谈，川普手里拿的就是以色列分阶段撤离加沙态势图，内塔尼亚胡则在指指点点，这是好事吗？从某种程度上说，这确实是好事，至少为苦难的加沙提出了和平的方案，而且比以前多少还有进步。别忘了，此前川普曾提出加沙人统统都离开，以后也不许再回来，这里要开发海景房地产，那离开的200万巴勒斯坦人去哪儿？特不靠谱，建议阿拉伯国家你们接受。阿拉伯国家都气疯了，这是变相驱离啊！土地送给小以，还要我们来买单。至少这一版和平方案允许加沙人留了下来，但哈马斯能接受吗？很难。几个难点： 1. 哈马斯能不能接受放下武器？ 2. 哈马斯和小以能不能释放人质？ 3. 和平委员会能不能得到加沙人支持？每一个都是问题。让哈马斯公开宣布放下武器，就像让川普承认自己错了，理论上可能， 实际上几乎不可能，因为在哈马斯看来，这无异于投降，而且是遭受巨大牺牲后的投降。而且放下武器不容易，放下仇恨更需要几代人的时间。具体到交换人质，川普的方案中还有一个先后顺序，哈马斯显然也不会同意。万一小以反悔了呢？至于和平委员会，尤其是布莱尔，我看到很多巴勒斯坦人第一反应，这不是一个受欢迎的人。哈马斯政治局还在研究。我看到哈马斯一个高级官员已表态，巴勒斯坦人不是需要监护的未成年人。具体到布莱尔，他应该因在2003年美国入侵伊拉克中所扮演的角色接受审判，而不是还让他来管理加沙。所以这肯定还有一个激烈的讨价还价。当然，对以色列来说，不允许还价，你只能接受。当着川普的面，内塔尼亚胡就说，总统先生，如果哈马斯拒绝您的计划，或者他们接受您的计划，然后采取一切措施予以反击，那么小以将独自完成这项工作。这可以用简单的方式完成，也可以用困难的方式完成，但他会完成的。怎么看？还是聊聊3点吧。第一，川普确实很想搞定加沙战争。我们还是不要怀疑川普的和平决心，他心心念念想拿诺贝尔和平奖，他吹嘘自己已制止了7场战争，但俄乌冲突和加沙战争毫无疑问是他拿诺奖的拦路虎。所以在经过深思熟虑后，他端出了自己的和平方案，甚至强压小以，你必须先向卡塔尔道歉，这样卡塔尔才愿意继续帮你。果然，在以色列道歉后，卡塔尔也表态愿意继续为和平做出有意义的贡献。有时最有效的权利不是发号施令，而是让棋子自己走到你预设的位置。在对付小以方面，我们不得不说川普还是有一套的。第二，川普故意忽略了最大问题，那就是一个巴勒斯坦国问题。别忘了2国方案是美国当年也支持的方案，最近英国、法国、加拿大、澳大利亚纷纷承认一个巴勒斯坦国，就是实在看不下去了。用联合国秘书长古特雷斯的话说，2国解决方案是摆脱这场噩梦的唯一出路。巴勒斯坦人建国是一种权利，而不是奖励，没有它，该地区将没有和平。但在川普的方案中根本没有巴勒斯坦国，以色列更强调也不允许巴民族权力机构管理加沙。这样的结果，巴勒斯坦人能接受吗？打来打去，一个国家都没有了，希望还有吗？哈马斯能心服吗？当和平的蓝图抽掉了地基的梁柱，再华丽的建筑也只是空中楼阁。第三，中东这个真相真很残酷。前面已经说了一些，最后再啰嗦几句。从表面看，小以好斗好战，很多时候说打就冲，而且往死里打，美国也管不住，但这绝对不是真实。关键是美国真正管束过小以吗？在加沙已经有 6.5 万多巴勒斯坦人被杀，绝大多数是妇女和儿童，连欧洲国家都看不下去，严厉谴责小以的滥杀无辜。但美国还在偏袒小以，在安理会一票否决，还继续向小以输送杀人武器。如果美国愿意施压，如果美国真采取措施，以色列不敢不听。所以我们看到川普一声令下，内塔尼亚胡乖乖拿起电话向卡塔尔道歉。但很多时候，美国听之任之，甚至各种放纵支持。别忘了，正是川普宣布将美国驻以使馆迁到耶路撒冷，还宣布自己永远站小以一边。国际关系的残酷在于，正义总是在强权的阴影下徘徊，苦苦等待被唤醒的时机。所以洋洋洒洒20条方案，更多是对巴勒斯坦对哈马斯的约束，哪怕释放人质都不是同时释放，而要哈马斯先。历史的法则常常如此，胜利者定义何为和平，而败者则必须接受名为投降的秩序。我看到有人就感叹，细节决定成败，没有一个巴勒斯坦国就没有正义。以色列还在发号施令，特不靠谱的和平计划不过是内塔尼亚胡的公关噱头罢了。
So this is a big, big day, a beautiful day, potentially one of the great days ever in civilization. Things that have been going on for hundreds of years and thousands of years, we're going to, at least we're at a minimum very, very close, and I think we're beyond very close. And I want to thank Bibi for really getting in there and doing a job. We've worked well together, as we have with many other countries, both of us, with many other countries, which is the only way this whole situation gets solved. And I'm not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible, incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region, I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then they said, have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get? A lot of people involved in this one. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region. And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with so many countries, Saudi Arabia as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's an incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and who've been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex, or it would have been done a long time ago. The King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, a strong man, but a good man. President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader, Prabowo. He is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. It just came out just as I was walking around. They said, sir, you have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%. President El-Sisi of Egypt, who's terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known him actually for a long time, and there are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men and some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of The young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, and that's a good thing. And destroy all terror infrastructure, including the tunnels, weapons, production facilities. They have a lot of production facilities that we're destroying. They'll also help train local police forces in the areas that we're discussing right now, in particular in and around Gaza, working with the new transitional authority in Gaza. All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully, as progress is made toward achieving these goals. Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. They have to deal with them because they were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them. But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding, and they haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they're unable to do so, then Israel would have the absolute right and actually our full backing, U.S. full backing. Marco's here, and a lot of our leaders are here, our great Vice President, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. They've been so involved in this process. I don't think anybody else could have done it or even come close. But it's we're right there. We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region, and that danger is caused by Hamas. The tyranny of terror has to end, and this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is for forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world, and Israel, and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man. and some others, and they'll be named over the next few days. And it'll be quite the board. Working, everybody wants to be on it now. I don't know if that had anything to do. They named me and everybody else wanted to be on it. I guess they figure, well, he's a soft touch. He'll be easy to deal with. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. As you know, thousands of Hamas leaders have been killed and soldiers have been killed. And we can never forget October 7th, but thousands have paid the price for that. And now it's time to get our hostages back and get back to trying to build something that's really great and very important. In our meeting today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear about his opposition to a Palestinian state. And he continuously mentions October 7th, and I understand that. Most people do. And I understand and respect his position on many things, but what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I noticed that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. They like me for whatever reason, maybe I don't know, but they do like me. But they say two things: please get the hostages back, and please end the war. They've had it. It's had it. So I think it's a very popular thing you do, because he's a warrior. He doesn't know about getting back to a normal way of life, but he is a warrior, and Israel's lucky to have him. But now the people want to get back to peace. They want to get back to normalization in a true sense. Several countries have foolishly recognized the Palestinian state. As you know, some of our European friends, allies, good people, but they're really, I think, doing that because they're very tired of what's going on for so many decades. They've been presidents and prime ministers for years, and during this time, having to do with the Middle East, all they're doing is talking about the same thing over and over. They want to see it get back. And nobody wants that more than me, or I believe Bibi too. But the people of Israel want it. They really want it. They want the hostages back. That includes the probably 32 bodies that we're talking about, 20 people that are living, 32 or so people that are dead, and they want to have peace. So let us not forget how we got here. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel withdrew from Gaza thinking they would live in peace. Remember that a long time ago? They withdrew. They said, you take it. This is our contribution to peace. But that didn't work out. That didn't work out. It was the opposite of peace. They pulled away. They let them have it. And I never forgot that, because I said, that doesn't sound like a good deal to me. As a real estate person, I mean, they gave up the ocean, right? Ron, they gave up the ocean. They said, who would do this deal? And it still didn't work out. They were very generous, actually. And they gave up the most magnificent piece of land in many ways in the Middle East. And they said, all we want to do now is have peace. And that request was not honored. Instead of building a better life for the Palestinians, Hamas diverted resources to build over 400 miles of tunnels and terror infrastructure, rocket production facilities, and hid their military command posts and launch sites in hospitals, schools, and mosques. So if you went after them, you'd be after them, and you wouldn't even realize you ended up knocking out a hospital or a school or a mosque. A terrible thing, terrible, terrible way to have to fight. No fight is good, but that's a real bad one. So there are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace. Many. I've seen so many of them. And they have support. And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas. if the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms that I laid out in my vision for peace in 2020, they'll have only themselves to blame. We're giving them an amazing footprint, and they have amazing support from the leaders of the Arab world and the Muslim world, the great leaders. These are great leaders. These are unbelievable leaders that have built great countries and very wealthy countries. What the future holds for the Palestinians, no one really knows, but the plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back. Hard to believe when you even say it, and creating conditions for durable Israeli security and Palestinian success. Israeli security is going to be involved. We're going to help you. We'll be there with you in terms of helping with security. We want to make sure it works. We just want to make sure it works. There shouldn't be a shot fired. Now, there will be, I guess, because that's the way it seems to be, but there shouldn't have to be within a few days. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. Maybe for eternity. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope it's true. I can tell you the leadership of that region feels that there's a good chance of it being true. So this will lead to this agreement that we're talking about will lead to a sustainable long-term peace. No president in history has been a greater friend of the state of Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the Abraham Accords. I like to say it that way because the real people, that's what they call Abraham. I would say Abraham, but it's so much nicer when you say Abraham. So much more elegant. But the Abraham Accords are amazing. Jared, you did that along with your group of geniuses, and nobody thought that could be done. We have 4 countries, and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't do a thing. He didn't even know what the hell they were. He should have had them filled up. But I think this will also lead to packing them. And who knows, maybe even Iran can get in there. I hope, we hope we're going to be able to get along with Iran. I think they're going to be open to it. I really believe that. But they could be a member. I long ago said, I'll bet you at some point Iran will be a member of the Accords. And little did I realize it was going to take this turn. That was some turn we did with the B-2s. But I think they might very well be there because it's a great thing for them economically. I recognize the eternal capital of Israel. I opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. That was something that everyone said would never be done, could never be done. Virtually every president for many, many years, for decades, would campaign on making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They campaigned on it over and over. Is that right, Steve? Is that right? Everyone, and when they got to it, and I understand why now, because it was so, when I got to office, I campaigned on it too. I said, we're going to make it